everyone, this is Healthy Options with Maureen. Today we'll be making some Nigerian meat pie but in a healthier way. So I'll call this healthy Nigerian meat pie. If you've ever made Nigerian meat pie, you know it's made with tons of butter or margarine as the case may be. In this particular recipe, I'm swapping the butter for some natural unsweetened yogurt. Another great thing about this is that you're cutting down calories. Whenever I take the Nigerian meat pie, I always tend to worry because I know how much butter or margarine it's made with. But with this, I can actually have two of these for dinner. You're not pumping yourself with tons of calories. Come with me as we make this. I know for sure you will like this. Thank you. So for our healthy meat pie filling, we'll be needing some minced beef, diced carrot, diced onions, a bit of water, diced potato, salt, black pepper, a little bit of nutmeg, bay leaf, cornstarch, or you can use flour if you don't have cornstarch, vegetable oil, and some garlic. So the first thing I'll be doing before I start cooking up the beef is to add a little bit of water into the cornstarch. I'm going to be mixing it up. This is to avoid balls or lumps by the time we add it into the meat mixture. So right now I've been heating up my pan for some time, so I'm going to be adding on the oil and I'll start cooking the minced beef. So right here we have our pan that has been heating up. I'm going to be adding the oil to the pan, and then the onions goes in at once. I'm going to stir, then I add on the bay leaf at once. So once the onions begin to become translucent, then I'll start adding on the other spices. So we've gotten it to the stage that we want it to be, and so the nutmeg goes in. And then the garlic goes in as well. So at this stage, the minced beef goes in. Once the minced beef goes in, I like to add on the salt and then the pepper. So I'll be adding on the salt now, and then the pepper as well. I'm going to make sure everything blends in and mixes in really nicely. At this point in the cooking, I also like to add the potatoes. The potatoes go in. So right now we have everything blended in, and at this point you can notice it's beginning to secrete a little bit of the juices from the meat. I'm going to be adding on some water. This water will help the potato cook through, and I'll be adding on the cornstarch as well that we dissolved in the water, so that goes in as well. So I'm going to be covering this. I'll let the potatoes cook through and let the meat soften a bit more. Then once it begins to boil, I'll be adding on the carrots so that the carrots can cook also, and then the sauce thickens as well. So it has been about 5 minutes, and I just checked for doneness, and I noticed the beef was still tough, so I added on a bit of water, and you can see the potatoes too are still a bit undercooked. So right now I'll be adding on the carrots as well. I'm going to stir, and I'll cover this and cook under low heat until the beef softens and the vegetables tenderizes. So that's what it looks like after about 30 minutes of cooking. As you can notice, we have a little bit of stock left at the base. I'm not going to let this dry out completely, but I'll still let it dry out just a little bit more before I turn it out. So there's this thing I like doing always towards the end of my cooking. Whenever I'm making meat pie, I like to add just a touch of garlic towards the end, and we'll be adding on that. Just a touch. I saved some garlic from what we had earlier, So I'm going to give this a good mix. This is the right time to taste for seasoning. See if it needs a bit more salt. Then I'll be fishing out this bay leaf now as well. And I'll give it just a couple more minutes to be able to thicken just a little bit further. Then I'll be turning off the heat. So at this point, I think it's completely ready. As you can notice, we still have a little bit of fluid, which is what we are looking for, because we need our meat pies to come out yummy and not dry by the time we cut into it. So usually I like making my meat pie filling a day before making the meat pies. This is because I get the chance to refrigerate the filling. When the filling gets cold, the little fluid in it actually thickens the more. This makes sealing the meat pies really easy. Besides this, when you put cold fillings into your dough and bake, the heat in the oven releases all that juice, so you have really moist and yummy meat pies. So I'm going to let this cool, and then I will refrigerate them. Then tomorrow we will continue with the pastry and making the meat pie proper. So this is a new day and we'll be making the dough for the meat pie. In my own opinion, this dough is what makes this version of meat pie healthy. Aside from the fact that we are using whole wheat flour, we are also losing about 721 calories in this recipe by substituting natural unsweetened yogurt for butter. So this is not your traditional short crust flaky pastry, but this is way healthier and equally delicious. So for this healthy dough, we'll be needing some sieved whole wheat flour, a little bit of water, some plain unsweetened yogurt. We also need some salt for this recipe. Then we need some brown sugar. As you can see, I'm using very tiny brown sugar. What this brown sugar does is that it helps cut down the tang in the yogurt, because yogurt tends to be tangy and sour. So a tiny bit of sweetness cuts it down a lot and helps improve the taste as well. So we have our bowl and we'll be adding on our whole wheat flour into the bowl. So right now we'll be adding on the salt. The salt goes in, and then the brown sugar goes in as well. So I'm going to give this a quick whisk. Right now I'm going to make a well in the center of the flour, and I'll be adding on the yogurt. I will also be adding on just a little bit of water for now, so that we'll stir and see if we need more water, then we can add on a little bit more water. So right now I'm going to be stirring. So obviously I need a little bit more water. Rinsing out the yogurt cup just to add on a little bit of water. At this stage I like to work with my hands to make sure that I don't put in too much liquid in the dough, and also to feel what I'm doing. Now I'm going to work with my hands. So right now we'll start kneading the dough. I'm just going to start kneading until it gives me a smooth dough. So right now you can see the consistency of the dough. It's beginning to become a whole lot smoother than we started, and that's just what you need. You need just about 5 minutes to be able to bring it to this consistency. So right now I'll be wrapping it in a cling film and I'll let this rest outside the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. I like to use a little bit of ghee around my dough. Whatever oil you have at home that works for you will be fine, but I prefer to use ghee. So I'll just be applying a bit of ghee. This will actually prevent the dough from drying out as it rests. Right here I have a cling film that I already prepared, so I'm just going to wrap my dough. So I'm going to let this rest, and I'll come back in 30 minutes and show you what to do with this. So our dough has been well rested, and if you remember, we made the filling a day before. That's what it looks like now. I just got it out from the fridge. You can see there's not a lot of fluid in it because it's cold, so most of the fluid in it has been congealed. but by the time it bakes in the pastry, it's going to warm up and become moist again. So right now we'll be rolling our dough. We have our rolling pin, of course, and right here we have a pan that has already been greased. That's where we'll place our meat pies as we roll. So right here we're going to lightly flour our working surface like we did earlier, and I like to swipe out most of it by the side because, like I said, there's no need getting your dough too dried out. So I'm going to be opening this now. I will start with about half of the dough. So I'll let this rest in here. I'll wrap it all up again, and then we'll start with about half of the dough. I'm going to press this down, and then we'll start rolling. So you can see it's a very easy dough to work with. That resting stage makes it easy to work with. So using a bowl, that's what I'm using. Whatsoever round object you have at home that works for you will do this job well. And I'm going to make a cut. Just as easy as that. So we are going to rip off the excess. So right here, before we start filling, I like to prepare my egg wash. So we have our egg, and I will just be adding on about a tablespoon of milk. If you don't have milk, you can use water. Water will work perfectly well too for the egg wash. So right now we're going to start filling. As you can see, I'm using about 2 tablespoons here. It's easy to seal it up because the fluid in it, it's congealed. Using my hands, I'm just going to quickly egg wash the edges of the circle, and I'm going to start sealing. I try to push it in a bit. You stretch the dough and then you seal. Just going to give it a good seal with my fingers. And then using the fork, I'm going to even seal it further. So I'm going to be placing this in our prepared pan right here. So this goes in, and I'm going to continue until we'll finish up the rest of the meat pies. So right now we'll be egg washing. So we have our meat pies egg washed. So we'll be placing it in the oven so that it starts baking. So I just got my meat pies out of the oven, and that's what they look like. As you can see, it's actually darker than the actual meat pie because of the quality of flour we used for it. So that's what makes it darker. I'm just going to cut into it so that we'll see what it looks like. You can see how juicy that looks. Look at how moist it is inside. When it heats up, all those fluids, they just dissolve, and by the time you eat this, it just melts in your mouth. Please do give this a go and let us know what your take is on this. Thank you.